Oh my goodness! Much like Harry Kim, I had that on a loop until the last second.
Oh
So I was like,
no!
press the button. Yes.
Ah! Ah! Hi everybody.
Reset the timeline. Hi everyone. Sorry we're late, but not that
Ah.
sorry
My
because we don't do anything about it.
My favorite is Link saying like running late and then fucking slabs over here like, is this your first time? Like, listen. We start watching the show. Maybe we got very chatty today, potentially, because maybe we were having a great time talking with people.
We were talking to Daniel Cardoso. He's in.
Whoa.
Whoa, guys.
Whoa. I am the best host ever. Just like in, we're there. Hey, Daniel. Sudden Daniel.
Oh my God, that's so funny. It's like if you just beam someone in and they're like right in the middle of like just washing a pit or something. It's like, hi.
Oh, hello.
I'm ready. Yeah, that was a literal non-consensual beaming. Just in. Oh, I'm in the room now. Amazing. Hi everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Hello.
We have just been talking a lot. It's my fault. I shared far too many stories. I got really excited to just be hanging out with my friends, and then also I watched the show on Paramount Plus, and Paramount Plus has decided that they're going to play twice as many ads for twice as long. So my ad breaks last for almost 2 minutes now. Actually, over 2 minutes. There's one that was 180 seconds, I think.
Yeah, it literally takes a full hour to watch the 45 minutes now. It's as if we're watching it on TV. It's the full experience of watching it in 1999.
I guess it's time to go ahead and invest in the higher tier of Paramount Plus at this point, because it would have shaved off quite a lot of time.
It would shave off 15 minutes. We would have been on time for my original 12:30.
Yeah, sorry everybody. Oh, also, speaking of 12:30, can we even say 12:30 on Twitch, or is it like noon or 1?
No, I can't. No, I can because I did that for Chris's stream. Okay. It was 1:30, so I could have done.
Does it say noon on Twitch?
It does say noon on Twitch.
We're gonna change that to 12:30.
Well, only when we do TNG or when we do 45-minute episodes, we end up half an hour late. That's why. Lower Decks is fine, but yeah, we should just make it 12:30. We really should. Hello, Andrew, Scott, Lloydie,
I'm
Paulie.
doing it right now. I'm changing things right now.
Nick Jagged, Paulie again, Link, and most importantly, Baby Slab. That's the most important hello to do.
12:30.
Screw Slab. Amazing. Right, Daniel, how do you feel about coming onto the show for the first time?
Yeah, it's very professional show, you know.
Terrified.
It's fair.
Yes, I am wearing a Mass Effect hoodie. It just happened to be the first one I put on this morning. It wasn't specifically because it was space themed, but
it wasn't thumbing your nose at Star Trek by picking an alternate franchise.
If you change to 12:30, you'll start it. Yeah, it's too late. I already changed it. It's too late.
It's too late. We've committed. She's messing with time.
I am.
If only we had a temporal implant or something.
Ooh. Yeah. If only there was some insert jargon here, jargony things.
All of the convenience.
Send a message.
Star Trek
I refuse
Voyager.
to pay for the ad version of Paramount. It's bad enough without ads. I can't even imagine what having ads would do to the Squiffy app. I can't imagine either, so I don't. It's so weird in the UK. All of Star Trek is on Netflix and Paramount Plus, apart from Lower Decks, which is only on Amazon Prime. It's so broken. It's so weird. International things. How do they work?
How do they work?
How do they work?
What are clocks? Well, they're supposed to help you tell time, but it depends on the time. It depends on your version of time.
In the words of Deanna, this is no time to worry about time. We haven't got the time
to worry.
Words that she actually said in First Contact.
Hey, Daniel, JCD can't be here, but he says he wants you to know this was a good pick of an episode to watch at random.
Heck yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, it works without really knowing too much about the rest of the series.
It's a great battle episode. Andrew similarly says, "Yay, Voyager! I remember this was the first Star Trek series that my family and I watched all the way through as it came out. Good stuff. That's
cool.
The only series I've done that with my family is Enterprise. because I was a bit too young to watch Voyager live. So yeah, me and my dad and my mum watched Star Trek Enterprise from the beginning for its sins and our sins.
Druid Bean. But how will kids know what a commercial is if we don't teach them? So if you decide to listen to the podcast proper, you might hear in the outtakes me describing some of the commercials I was subjected to.
Be grateful they do not. Yeah, they were very related to this episode. Very timely.
Here come the temporal agents. Look at NX-01 Trip's image. It's Badgie.
Back.
Daniel, do you know who Badgie is?
No, I do not.
You haven't seen Lower Decks?
Have you seen? Yeah.
No, I haven't seen yet. Okay. That's probably. I haven't seen that, and I haven't seen Prodigy, are the only two I haven't seen.
How would you feel if I told you that Badgie was a murdering, was like an insane murder hobo?
I would be, now I'm very curious. I'm more curious about the show than I was before. I don't know how you get there from any place in the Star Trek universe.
Oh, you're gonna love Lower Decks then, because you'll be saying that every episode.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect with Lower Decks, but it is not what it is. Rick and Morty meets Star Trek.
Yeah, in so many ways. Yeah, honestly is. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a murder clippy, like a Microsoft clippy, like the little clipboard character that kind of tells you about stuff. Take that guy, turn him into a badge, and add murder. And that's that
murder.
Character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine if Clippy wanted to kill you. That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can, but I don't know how. I don't know how anyone gets there. I just don't. I can't imagine what scenario the Microsoft paperclip becomes sentient, leaves the computer, or maybe it doesn't leave the computer, but somehow attempts to murder me. I mean, that's I'm open to the challenge.
Yeah.
That question is the episode.
We will need to just link you directly to it, because that's the one you're going to want to absorb. Maybe first, why not just make that his very first episode of Lower Decks? Why not? Chuck him into the deep end.
So much blood. It's amazing. Hang on a second. Nice hat, Ian. Where might somebody have procured one of those? This is my hair.
No, this Sin Week 22, your hat.
It's just my hair. Oh, that one.
Are you talking about the Sin Week 22? Is that what you're talking about, Josh?
Where would one get one of these, Danae? And how would you procure the Sin Week 2023? Wait, are we doing those?
Hey, Katrar, it's good to see you. Yes, there is going to be a 2023 Sin Week hat, but it's only for those who go to the live event. So we print them and create merch that's just specific to the live event in Nashville. And so we don't put them onto the site because we have them custom made locally in the Nashville area. So they're not like a store thing that we can do. Unfortunately.
Sadly.
And we're actually going to be talking about the merch. I'm putting together our merch ideas now, and we're creating our custom collectible artwork now. So people who attend Sin Week get signed artwork, and then a badge,
a murder badge. We get a badge that tries to murder you.
A collectible pin that are these really thick, enamel ones. This is from 2022, and so we'll make another one of these. So
and the great thing about this show is that there isn't an ad-free version. You're stuck with the ads regardless.
Yeah,
Sav, I agree. This one is slightly too small for my thick noggin as well. Just a little bit. I have such a big head.
So is there a way we could get a hat that just looks like Ian's hair? Now that that's been put into the universe, it says Sin Week 2023, and it's just Ian's,
just the peak,
or the visors with the hair coming up through it.
That's gotta work. Yeah, that's a thing.
I'm sure that everyone wants that.
Yeah, it's made out of 1,000 eyelashes.
There is something you won't get until you hear the outtakes.
Yeah, Pike's Peak was Pike's hair. his quaff because Anson Mount has so much big hair.
Yeah, Link. So if you're attending Sin Week, you're going to be getting an email that'll ask your like shirt size and things like that. We did print a hat one year that didn't have a brim adjustment, and so it was just a flex hat. And so we asked everybody's like preferred hat size, but even that hat was so small, just the way that they fit really small. So not everybody could even really enjoy those, which was a bummer. That's true. It was a bummer.
Only if it comes with a beard. So
If
you want
yours
like
had like the attachment,
that, like...
just like this hairy attachment.
That is amazing.
So
We get like, what is it, like maximum of like 50 people at Sin Week, something in that region?
Yeah, so the most people that we would be able to have at Sin Week is like around 50.
So if I just have to get my beard to this length, shave it 50 times, and then I can give everyone my beard.
Gross. That's fucking gross.
Hey, it's not gross. It's on my face. I have it every single day. Daniel is horrified.
All right. Well, hey guys, we're gonna get to our show. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who have never come for a live show, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of a rundown of how the next few minutes are gonna go. And by a few minutes, I mean about an hour. So we love talking to you guys. We love reading your chat comments and love talking about Star Trek and answering questions of any kind that you have for any of us, whether it's about CinemaSins or Star Trek or movies or whatever you have in general. So we love hanging out with you guys and doing that. But when we start to record our podcast proper, we stop reading the comments and we just focus on recording our podcast. And then at the end, we return back to you and answer your questions. We can pin your comments and kind of circle back. Sometimes we'll go ahead and like put up your comments on the screen as we go, but we don't actually address them. But when we have a guest like we do today, it kind of sometimes covers their face. So that's not cool. So we might not pop them up on screen as much. But yeah, get your emotes ready. If you don't like something or we don't like something, you can pop up a no. You can sin as you go, and you can use the sin bell ding. And of course, when we get to the end of the episode, we're going to sin the episode, and you can get your red alert emotes ready there for those of you that are on Twitch. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you so much. Make sure that you set your comments to live chat and not top comment. So that way you see everyone's comments who is there in the YouTube format, because not everybody joins in the same platforms. We're both on YouTube Live and on Twitch. Did I cover everything?
You did. I hope your internet covered it as well.
Oh, no.
Did Danae break up a bit for you?
Oh, is my internet crashing?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got anything going on in the background? Are you good?
Me? Yeah, there's people that are digging out my front yard. So
hey, go out there
and
tell them. Tell them to stop.
Okay, I will. I'll be right.
Amazing. Oh, no.
I'm not really going to do that.
Bye. Okay,
bye.
Let's get into So, we already did in the intro to the show. We did a little bit of an introduction to why Daniel picked this episode, but spoiler free. And then that kind of went into a discussion about what Voyager is, because we kind of needed a little bit of context, which then got into a discussion about the Maquis and the Cardassian conflict on Bajor. So hence why we're a little bit late. So we'll do a little bit more of that in the show as well, now that we can talk spoilers and whatnot. Cool. Let's get started. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched. Most important question first and guest first. Daniel, what would you like from the replicator, sir?
I guess I'll have a Romulan ale.
Oh, nice. Technically illegal, but it is allowed on this ship because we are in, I think we're in like that area of space where you have like diplomatic immunity, or like it's international waters. That's where I park this Enterprise for the show. Yeah. Danae, what would you like?
Man, there was a moment in this episode where Captain Janeway was making a meal, and I wish I could remember what it was called, but
it was a vegetable biryani.
Yeah.
I've seen this episode too many times.
I'd like a vegetable biryani, please.
Nice.
Whatever
In a glass?
Fuck
You want
that
to
is.
drink that?
You have told me on so many occasions that I can have whatever I want from the replicator. And then I was like, well, I thought it was supposed to be a drink. And you were like, it can be anything. And then I switched over to anything and you said it had to be a drink. And now I just think that you're being a dick every episode. And so I want a biryani. I want it. I want it like plop out of the replicator.
Yeah.
You know, like just kind of like folds down onto the plate. That's what I want.
It was Janeway's homemade vegetable biryani, so it's not even replicated, so you completely failed.
All right. Well, then I want Janeway's replicated biryani bits, and then I'll just try to make it myself.
We're gonna end up with bitch. I want her homemade biryani, bitch. Amazing. Well, I would like the tiniest amount of water or vodka that she poured for Chakotay. Like, she poured the tiniest amount. I've never noticed this. Like, he says something shocking and she stops and never continues filling up that glass. She's like, fuck you, dude. That's all the gin that you get with your dinner. And she pours like half a pint. So yes, that's what I would like. Amazing. Well, this week we are covering I think this is my favorite or second favorite episode of Star Trek Voyager, as suggested by Daniel. It's timeless. The surviving crew members of the USS Voyager, Chakotay and Harry Kim, have made their way back to the Alpha Quadrant, but at the terrible cost of the lives of their crewmates. 15 years later, they find Voyager in an attempt to change the past by sending a message through time.
That was good. That was really good.
I'm conflicted about which way to go first. I think we're going to do Danae's initial thoughts and feelings, having never seen this and having not seen Voyager in, like, we're going to say decades. Like, we're going to say like 20 years.
I mean, I'm not that old, but
about this episode?
I am actually I'm very old. I was born in the 1400s.
You can use plural for decades.
I am,
and it still just be 2.
I enjoyed this episode, but I found myself thinking about why we're okay with this episode a lot.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like,
I think it's the single cinniest episode of Star Trek we've watched to date.
I feel like if I was watching all of Voyager from the beginning to the end and like just binging it or watching it when it came out or whatever, I feel like I would be super excited about this episode. Having been plopped into this episode after having not seen it in so long, I was like, wow, we're just okay with doing all kinds of really sketchy stuff, aren't we? But I think I enjoyed it for what I feel like it did for this series, because it moved their whole purpose forward a bit without answering the big questions of the show. Like, the show is all about going back home, and this sort of like hits on that while not hitting on it at the same time. So it's like it's getting to the point without getting to the point. So I feel like it did some interesting stuff. But if you were going to ask me to recap this episode, I think I would just say, in this episode we see what 7 of 9 looks like without anything on, and that's really not okay. What they did to 7 of 9 is not
where
okay.
you were going.
Yeah,
it took me a minute as well.
That was an incredible moment in the show, because Danae had like several layers of realization. The Doctor has been holding this thing for like 4 scenes now, and towards the end of the episode, Danae is like, oh, that's an eyeball. He's holding an eyeball. That's 7's eyeball. No. It was so good. Just like the little dominoes falling of what was happening. It is great how casual he can have a conversation while holding his best friend's skull.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there's some messed up stuff that this episode decides to do, you know, in the name of undoing a mistake. But there is, I don't know, maybe we can get into it more, but I just feel like sometimes there's bravery in like living with your mistake too. And this episode doesn't want to do that. It doesn't want to let there be a mistake.
Yeah.
Understandably so, because everybody is dead if that's the
Yep.
case. And obviously they're not ready to make that decision as a TV show. But yeah, dropping into it was really strange. I liked the acting in it. I thought that it kind of asked probably a lot more from characters we didn't get to see a lot of dimension from, but I don't know because I haven't watched it in a long time. But it
No,
felt
you picked
like
up
they
on
kind
that
of
really well, yeah.
put some people in the forefront that kind of needed to have their moment, and this was like their really strong attempt at that moment.
Especially Harry, like he gets this is probably the most we get to see him do. So now that we can get into spoilers, Daniel, why is this your favorite episode of Voyager? What do you love about it? Why do you think it would be a good way to get Danae back into Voyager? That was not the mission statement at all. It was just, hey, what's your favorite episode?
I think the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking the episode was the Geordie LaForge cameo as captain of his own ship, which is like
so
cool. A whole different show that I would have liked to have seen. So like that was a big piece of it.
Star Trek Challenger with LeVar Burton would have been incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, like even like thinking about it, like there's a whole part of this episode where he fails his mission
entirely.
Like, we don't see that side of it, but like he really botches the job, and like all of reality has changed.
This is like if Picard was in charge, this wouldn't have happened. Like anybody wondered if you have a different captain of the Enterprise. No, you're absolutely right. He should have blown them up immediately.
Yeah. So there's so much of that. There's like so much like pieces that like you don't see that I think things that are alluded to that are really interesting. And I think that, like that, just like the scene where they have Voyager crashing is a cool VFX thing. So that like that was, and like seeing it in the ice and like just where it starts is a really cool place of like where like what happened and like sort of how they're gonna get out of this one.
One of the things. Sorry.
Oh, to what Danae was saying is like, yeah, there's definitely is like a weird, like the tonality of the show. It stays very Voyager, like it's very Star Trek Voyager, but it definitely misses the mark in sort of like the conveying how anybody should feel about like any given moment. I think Harry is the only one that really like is different compared to his character in the
he's a broken man now.
Yeah, that was interesting. That he was very desperate, and they didn't care if they died trying to get their 150 crew members saved. And that's an interesting idea, but you know, LaForge he's like, yeah, but we're talking about 15 years of progress that we've made. How about all of the people that were born in the last 15 years that are no longer going to be in existence because you want to save 150 people? And I think that anyone who watches this episode and is like, this was totally justified, I might not agree with you on that. Like, no, let him die.
100%. You just, because you don't know any better. Like so there are lives that are now going to be born that maybe weren't born, but it's no one person can make that judgment call about which timeline is correct, which one should be real. What if this leads to the Borg taking over the Alpha Quadrant because something happens in the Delta Quadrant with Voyager? Just anything can go wrong, but he is just driven by his guilt. And Harry was for me was the perfect choice for this person to be in the driving seat, because he was throughout all 7 seasons the most optimistic, the most positive, the most driven to get home, the one that just doesn't give up hope pretty much at all, and is almost obnoxiously optimistic about their chances of getting home. And for him to be the one that fucks it in the pooch so hard and kills everyone, and then it makes sense that he's then dedicated to the next 15 years, becomes like the Andrew Garfield Dark Spider-Man that we never get to see, and just breaks all of the rules, says, fuck this noise. This, like, this timeline cannot exist because of my ego. Like if this timeline is an exact result of my failures, so therefore I'm going to delete it and start again. It's so vain with a mask of doing the right thing. It's like, no, this isn't about rescuing the ship. This is about making yourself feel better, Kim. I could write essays about this episode. It's so good.
The only place it doesn't stick the landing is that final scene. Like if they address it right then, like right there, and like that conversation between him and Janeway, like maybe we should talk about what happened.
Right,
Harry, you should be in jail right now for the things future you would have done.
It's like, I'm happy to be alive, but like
what did you do?
You went too far.
Fucked up. Yeah, this is not good. I mean, we'll get to the sins, but like that message should not exist for so many reasons.
Yeah.
So
that was a tricky one for sure.
So we'll head into some general happy thoughts about the episode before we get into what I could single-handedly do as a resistance is futile a sinning section. I love this cold open. Hey, see what I did there? Is it cold because it's in the chips buried in the ice? I love this cold open because you get the reveal of Voyager under the ice, and it's up there with like cause and effect where they blow up the Enterprise immediately, because like, okay, I know this isn't the end, but anything that does that, I think you get one of those a show. You get one of those, what the fuck, how are they going to get out of this really, really punchy cold opens a show? Because if you do it too much, it doesn't work. And this is definitely Voyager's one for me. Do you remember your thoughts, Daniel, when you first saw the episode, or when you first saw that cold open and was like, oh, the ship?
I mean, it was so long ago that it's hard to know exactly, but I think because it was like seeing it like on TV and like being much younger and like having spent some time with the show, that I'm pretty sure that I would have just like been like immediately like dialed in and like engaged in like what the story is going to be like. Like, is that the end of the ship? Like, like, is that just like the end of like how are they? I mean, I don't think now I know that that wouldn't be the case, but I'm pretty sure when I was younger, I would just be like, oh, like Voyager is no more, possibly. Like, what?
Like, is it a duplicate? Is it a parallel universe? Like, it just, for me, it just tells me that the next 45 minutes is going to be a good one. Like, there's some filler episodes where you're like, oh, this is about emotions, and Kim's going to get a girlfriend, and it turns out to be an alien that's from his past or whatever. But I know that this is going to be like a batshit good episode. Danae, how quickly did you figure out it was Voyager? What were your instincts? Like, because the opening of the show is Chakotay and Kim. No, it's Chakotay and his girlfriend walking around a frozen Voyager. So when did you put the pieces together? What did you make you think you were in for?
Yeah, I put the pieces together when both you and Daniel were like, did she get it or did she not get it? And then I was like, oh,
to be fair, that was me. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So there's a couple things that I was thinking when I was first starting to watch it. I'm so used to TNG because that's what we've been doing this season that I'm like, the show starts and I sort of like felt weird and I couldn't realize I was trying to figure out why, and then I realized it was because there was no Stardate so and so blah blah blah. We're on a mission to a quiet ice planet. Like, there was no expositional entry, and it's just this quiet crunching sounds of snow, and so it drew me in a really interesting way because it was quiet and it was
spooky,
confusing, and the music was kind of tense as well. So they're sort of saying this odd scene, and then because I just saw the ship, I was like, oh, that's a ship under the ice. And then I started to write down the numbers on the ship, and then the intro started, and I got really excited about the intro. I hadn't seen it in so long. And And the intro is when I missed the numbers matched up on the ship. I missed that part.
Mhm.
But then whenever you guys were like, "Did she get it?" I thought, "Oh, it's probably that ship." But until it was Janeway dead on the floor, I wasn't entirely sure. But I didn't recognize the bridge, so I wasn't feeling like it was an Enterprise situation. So yeah, it took me, I guess, maybe longer than some, but it was pretty quick.
I am
so sorry.
Yeah.
You guys vamp.
Go do the dogs. It's so dark, that opening, because I think it's probably only just on this one that I noticed that Tom Paris is also on the floor and is just
first body there.
That's super spooky. Just this first dead body. It's like, hang on, that's where Tom Paris. Oh no, that's him. He's the icicle. And then Janeway's a little bit more obvious, but yeah, I really love I can't imagine the amount of time it took to icicle the set of Voyager. Like,
oh yeah,
man, that's wild. Like, they must have brought in so many snow machines.
Yeah, some people did some work on that, and then to and then to put it all back afterwards. Like, there was a lot of hours went into.
Oh man, it makes me wonder. Like, I haven't looked into the behind the scenes of it, but I wonder if they must have just done it on the set and just ruined all of the carpet. Like, because water isn't good for like sets and stuff. So to make the bridge that snowy and that icy, that's a huge undertaking for a few scenes in an episode, because we're only really on the icy Voyager for a couple of scenes. But just anything that redesigns or messes with the set, I love that stuff.
It's got I would imagine it's all synthetic something or another.
For like foam.
Yeah. They made a great job of making it look icy.
Something.
It's definitely not.
When they were walking around on that ice planet, it was probably like 80 degrees or 90 degrees in that costume.
No!
Oh yeah.
Sweating costume.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're just breathing in styrofoam. They're just breathing plastic into their lungs. Yeah.
Beautiful. Daniel, give us something else you loved about the episode.
Well, I think whenever the Doctor is a main character in any of the Voyager episodes, is usually really good. It's usually a really good episode. He just has a presence, and that is not, I mean, it's not as robotic as like Data, but like is still clearly a synthetic being. Like he like has that fine line where it's like, yeah, I have all these mannerisms of a normal human, but then he like, it's sort of like it's buried in the dialogue. Like what he's saying is just like like, stop feeling feelings right now.
Yeah. Move on. Like, stop it. It's like, textbook counseling from a computer. I think the Doctor in general is a really interesting way to have that Data like character, but without just retracing the same steps and doing the same thing over again. He was fascinating for the whole thing. What else did you love, Ambassador?
Oh, well, I kind of want to go back a bit too, because
do it.
There's a few things that I forgot that I loved about the intro to Voyager. Besides the music, there's this the sound that it makes when they come up through the rings of Saturn or whatever the planet is. The rings, and it has like the little pebbly kind of sound effect. I always really loved that sound effect for whatever reason. Yeah, like it's kind of just hitting the ship. It's like a little. It's just like a little.
Like, okay.
It sounds like the orchestra could be doing it.
It's
well.
Great.
The arrangements for this era of Star Trek are so good.
Yeah. And visually, like when it goes through the nebula and it changes color as it hits the different parts of the cloud nebula thing, I always thought that was really beautiful too. And I had just forgotten how much I enjoyed the intro. Like this episode doesn't have a ton of joy in it. I mean, there is a scene that's filled with joy, and I'm gonna send the shit out of that in a minute. But there was just like all of a sudden I was just kind of flooded back with like, oh yeah, this is kind of the vibe of this one, because this is a more serious show. They're like out all on their own, and it's always kind of felt really intense. Yeah. So, but there's still some beautiful things to enjoy about that. I just thought, yeah, that was another thing I liked is the intro.
And sweeping music is so good. It's such an interestingly, like it's melancholy, but also still upbeat in its own way. I love the theme tune to Voyager. I think it's great. I think it's a lot of it's a lot of all of the feels. Something interesting about this episode, you're gonna like this, Danae. It is technically set in 2400, which is the same year that Picard, the new series, is set.
Oh,
how strange does that feel? Have you seen Picard as well, Daniel?
Yeah, I have not seen the most recent episode. The most recent season.
Oh, season 2.
So go with me here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
This episode undoes all of Picard because it erased the timeline.
No, because Picard happens in the new timeline that Harry's created. So we might be we might in Harry's timeline we may have in the original timeline we may still have Romulus. There's no android ban. There's no like shenanigans with the Borg and whatnot.
So this show does a very sinful thing at the end, which I'm sure all of us are going to sin, which is the explanation of any of it, of the time the time traveliness of it all. But I think this episode wants us to believe that everything that this timeline, the future that doesn't have any of the Voyager crew, that it just dissolves and just gets reabsorbed back into the great nebulous of time. That's the idea I think that they want us to take. But
yeah, whereas in reality, that timeline should continue just with a dead Harry and a dead Chakotay and a Challenger that realizes, oh, we didn't need to chase after them. That doesn't matter. In theory, the only way it makes sense is if you have branching timelines. Like the universe where he killed everybody still happens. He's just created a new one where it didn't happen. Okay. That's kind of like the more modern approach to time
but
travel.
this one doesn't go that way.
No.
Have they isn't like not until Discovery do they ever like address like multiverse stuff in Star Trek?
That's the first time. There's in fact season 4 of Discovery that just happened was the first one to acknowledge that the Kelvin universe exists in the wider universe and that it's an offshoot of the Prime timeline. Yeah.
I'm watching that right now and I have not got to that part, so that's interesting.
Oh, I am so sorry.
I'm not worried about
Great job.
It's almost it's a weird thing.
It's been out long
because
enough.
It has nothing to do with the overarching story. It's a scene that they put in there because they wanted to do it. Like it doesn't really have a lot of connecting. I think it's quite early in season 4. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I know. Yeah, damn it! I just was about to comment on the live stream, and now I
gotta cut it out now. You got more editing to do. Now you gotta do more editing, Ian. You can't.
Now I can sound really smart. I guess you could call like the Mirror Universe stuff is kind of their first foray into like the multiverse things and like alternate timelines and whatnot. So yeah, Mirror, that's a good way to do it. Those episodes of the evil universes, and they were doing that back in the 60s. Really glad I remembered that.
True. Yeah, but as Janeway says, don't think about it too much.
I mean, that's
that's when
don't think about it too much. Said the writer to the audience.
Yep.
Love it. There was something else I was going to say. Right, sorry. Linked to the Picard thing, the comm badges are the same ones that are used in Picard as well.
All they've done,
they've just trimmed the top a tiny little bit. Oh, 1 second.
Okay.
You still there, Daniel?
Okay. Now I'm back.
Okay.
Everyone froze, and it was just Ian was mid talking, like, and Danae was just like,
"Oh no, you fell into a quantum tunnel or something." All they did was strip they've trimmed the top a little bit, but the rest of it is exactly the same comm badge that they use in Picard. It's
That's
such a
so
cool
clever.
little design thing. The comm badges survived Harry's shenanigans.
They did somehow, some way
amazing.
that the future still exists, or the future of this show's the guy
that designed that comm badge still exists.
He made it somehow.
Yeah, he made it through all the shenanigans.
I don't know if this happens in what's it called in Picard yet, but
Mhm.
Geordi hasn't showed up in that
Not yet.
the most recent. Okay,
No.
it was like, what if he shows up and he's just like something weird happened?
I get a weird feeling I should be on the Challenger.
Guys,
just for some reason I'm not.
Is that the best part of this episode? That was seeing Geordi LaForge in the captain's chair with his
Sexy as
eyes
fuck.
all. I mean, he was just like the fucking best. That was the
and he's
best.
got his little captain's lean.
Yeah, he does.
Anyone else notice?
Yeah,
so good. He's just been like modeling himself off of Riker this whole time.
The way that he communicates during that entire scene, it's like this man has power, authority, confidence, and like it was just unquestioned, unparalleled. Like y'all fucked up, you know, and he's gonna take you down. And then he like attacks them and everything. He's not fucking around. It was really cool to watch. I really enjoyed that. And
he still has the empathy because he's like, hey, if I was in your shoes, I'd be doing the same thing, but I've got to stop you.
He had
is
tact
so chill.
And
he's exactly how I would think Captain LaForge would be. So good. But I have sins about all of the Challenger stuff, but later. Okay. But yeah, LeVar also directed this episode as well, which is really, really, really fun. Really
so
good.
Talented.
He really is. Like I am not unconvinced. What's the word? I'm convinced that he pulled that performance out of Garrett Wang, Harry Kim. Like just the rage. Like there is some great directing going on there, I feel, where it's just this dark Harry Kim that we haven't seen before, who does some of the darkest shit we've seen. It's a great performance.
Yeah.
What else did we have? Did you have any like general questions, Danae, that you think you need for like added context? Were there any relationship beats or kind of story beats that you thought, I'm missing something here, I don't get it?
There was a couple things that I was just like, what's that mean? And there's still some stuff that I enjoyed about the episode too. So I guess I'll do like a twofer. I really enjoyed the Talaxian fur fly. Let's just say that we don't often have a moment for taxidermy within a show, but that was really great. And it shows
what else was Neelix going to do?
Right.
In the episode. Like
Neelix needs to do something unexpected and quirky. Let's give him a dead creature that he's been holding on to for God knows how long. And we're gonna give it for good luck.
At least 4 years.
Pretty sure he's the reason that the interstellar compulsion quantum slipstream drive doesn't work.
Nice.
Pretty sure.
All his fault. Yeah.
It's all his fault. It literally is like they're all celebrating like this is going to be awesome. And he's like, guys, do I have the perfect totem for you? Let me show you this really oversized fly bee mashup monstrosity that has been somehow preserved perfectly. And then and then they go and they hang it up somewhere and then the whole thing falls apart. So to me,
you know how the episode should have ended is
like
Harry should have
zoom on the fly.
Harry should have turned to Janeway and said, but everything I did worked in this simulation. I don't know why it didn't work in reality. And then it just cuts to engineering, slow zoom on the fly. That's how the episode ends.
100%. That's exactly it. Like what should work is that future Harry sends back the coordinates for where the fly is on the ship back to past Harry.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is going on here? And it's like emitting some sort of strange decomposing thing. I don't know. Anyway,
that would absolutely be on brand. There is an episode of Voyager where like Neelix poisons everybody, and there's some biological elements on the ship, and he poisons them as well because he purchased a really weird cheese that grew a fungus, and he's like, I nearly destroyed the ship. So it's 100% on
totally
brand
possible.
for Neelix's character. Yeah, that would absolutely happen.
One of my questions was, I think I wrote down 2 questions this episode. But the first one was when Harry and Chakotay are on the frozen ship, the very beginning, they're like kind of down in there, like walking around, figuring it all out or whatever. Retrieving 7 of 9 and the Doctor. I think like Chakotay says something like, "Keep your comm badge open." Does that mean that whatever is said is just transmitted? There's no like booping? There's no booping.
Comlink is open the entire time. Yeah.
How many times has that resulted in something interesting happening in Star Trek history? Like how many times has someone comm badge just been on inadvertently?
Excuse me, sir. I can hear you pooping.
Right. Yes.
To my knowledge, I can't. I'm usually pretty good at thinking of examples. I can't.
What a great idea for a show.
Sir, you left that open. I heard all of that conversation.
So it just seems strange to me because we already have a system that's always listening anyway. Because like the computer is always there to sort of do whatever you need it to do. So it's Googling, Alexaing, doing the listening in thing. But then you also keep your comm badge open the whole time. I don't know. I guess there's times for it, but it just seems
like an emergency. Yeah,
it's like an energy drain situation. What kind of an emergency? Because it's and then it's there. So I just don't understand why keeping it open is important.
What if you get kidnapped and you can't make any movements?
What if you touch something and your hand freezes to a wall because
exactly?
Okay,
and then you have to try and chin the comm badge. You just it's interesting.
That's actually probably part of their training for comm badges is like how you're like in your class like, okay, well, what happens if I can't use my hands? Like, well, that's why we keep it up on the shoulder so that you can boop it with your chin.
Exactly. Just you can do it. Just lick your comm badge. You do not want to lick a comm badge. You really, really don't.
Okay, so I always thought that you'd put it like on your shoulder, but turns out that more, and in addition to it being on like your shoulder area, is it has to, regulations would say, be within chin booping distance as well.
I think so, yeah. Because the general thing is that it's just above the left nipple, but I think it would have to be...
That's too far down.
A lot higher up.
Especially for a woman who's been breastfeeding. That nipple just, it sinks so much further down. That's a terrible thing.
Metric.
It needs to be collarbone down, like not at all based on nipple. Just...
No, it's fair. That's fair. They move around. Absolutely.
Chin. It's got to be the chin because you have to be able to boop it.
Yeah. Or it's just built into your ear. It's just like, or it's on your fingertip. You're just like,
why are we comm badging at all? This is the future.
Yeah, this is the future. This is 400 years in the future. Why do we still need cell phones? It's bizarre.
Everyone always hears, and like can everyone hear when like you're having a comm badge conversation, or is it like auditorily only? Like,
how?
I think
available to the person. Like,
this is a great question.
It comes out of there's a speaker on the comm badge that it comes out of. And then, unless you're on the ship, and then it comes out of the comm badge or the speakers, depending on what's needed. The computer always knows exactly what's needed by the person sending the message.
That's insane to me.
That's the MacGuffin.
Can I tell you something I learned? This is why it took so long for us to start our live show, is because I'm just telling so many stories today.
That's the best.
So my friend and I recently went to Mexico. She went to go visit like an Aztec ruins where they had an old, like, I'll call it a basketball court. It was like a game that involved a basket and a ball. And they had like all this documentation about, I guess, what that would have looked like. So they were telling the people who went to this Aztec ruins how this game worked. And there was it's kind of set down into the ground, and the people who are observing are like up pretty high. And down the court are these big circular like plates almost made out of rock. And so the judge could say something and it would go and hit the rock and be amplified for the referees that were out there. So what I'm telling you is that surely there's a way in the future for a comm badge to like aim audio specifically for the people and not have it be like speakerfied around everyone. If the Aztecs a long time ago could have someone standing at the end of a court and just talk regularly and have somebody on the other side hear it, certainly Star Trek would be able to comm badge it directly to an ear. I'm just saying. This is
100%. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I'm sure they should have the technology. It does make me laugh that the Chakotay's girlfriend is like, oh, this looks a bit old fashioned. I was like, it's 15
stop
years.
It.
It's not that. It's not that. The Challenger is older than Voyager. Just get over that stuff.
I have a big beef with Star Trek and like the way that like when people reference time, like Tom Paris says in this episode, I think we built an Edsel, and like it's a car, like I forget what time period, but I mean it's like it's an old car that was like a piece of crap, or I believe it was a bad car. But like they are so many years in the future that like there has got to be so many other cultural references that would come to mind before
quicker
and Edsel, because like that wouldn't be the first thing that came to mind. Like if one of us were thinking about it, like a bad car or like
no
reference.
I had no idea what an Edsel was.
So it's like like the amount of knowledge to his first mind goes hundreds of years into the
yeah. Well, this show does it too, and I think it's a sin too. I know we're not like to the sin section yet, but it does it too with like the Bonnie and Clyde reference that the Doctor makes. It's like, has there been no other person, no other duo in all this time?
Timeless, like the episode.
And I get it. Some of those things are just, they end up becoming timeless references, but yeah.
I will because we will get attacked. Well, not attacked, but somebody will mention it. Tom is a automotive aficionado. He does actually, in his spare time, he does go into the holodeck and he rebuilds cars from the 50s and 60s. He is a bit of a grease monkey. That is kind of part of his character. So of all of the people on the ship, I'm glad it was him that makes the reference, but they do this all the time. There are still better things they could have referred to that we wouldn't know about because they haven't happened for us yet, that he should be talking about. He should have called it like an Ensign Kim or something. I think we've built an Ensign Kim. And Kim's just like, dude, I'm standing right here. What do you mean? Right, before we move into the sins, which I know we're all desperate to do, Daniel, any final thoughts on just why you love this episode? Or anything else you wanted to talk about? This is where Danae scrambles through her notes.
Yeah,
I'm
looking through
anything
my
that's not like a sin of sorts. So I guess I'll just
can I ask a question then? Is that okay? Maybe you know how this works, Daniel. Do you know that moment when like they're testing this, they're testing the interstellar compulsion quantum slipstream drive. I like saying that.
Nice.
And and they go into the holodeck to test it, but then they don't go into the holodeck to test the shuttle.
Save it for the sins.
My question is, could they have, or was that something I missed? Like, is it because they were under a time crunch? Like, could they have done that?
I believe there is. He does talk about the crystals deteriorating, so there's a time element to it. Whether or not they
like
had
the Benamite crystals, by the way, they're the Benamite crystals. Just so you know.
Nice.
So you're probably not wrong, but they could probably is a way to explain it away.
Okay.
I still don't think we're talking about they're going to expire this afternoon. I think if they had time to run 23 simulations of Tom's whatever his simulation was, they had time to run 1 or 2 with the shuttle before fucking it up. Huge plot hole. I've just got a couple of things. I love Kim's explosion at the end when he's just like he's tapping away and just that like explosive yes that he just comes out of him that synchronizes with the warp core explosion. I don't know if they like amplified his voice, but that echoes through time. I love that moment so much. And this is also the moment where a younger version of Ian discovered what joined at the hip was actually referring to, because Kim says that they're having sex, and then the next line is yeah they're joined at the hip, and just those 2 lines back to back made younger Ian realize, oh, that's what that means. I thought joined at the hip just meant they're always holding hands, they're always side by side.
But, it does.
Joined at the hip.
I mean, it does mean both. You can do both. It doesn't always mean a sexual reference. But that was a really funny scene when he's like, they're fucking.
Yeah, they're fucking. It's like, it's so not Harry Kim, but I'm like, oh, damn. You've grown up.
And what's her name doesn't even react to it.
Like,
no. Just like, yeah, I tap that.
They could have like high-fived or something afterwards.
Yes.
Maybe? Or maybe it's because he's like a medical doctor. He's like, oh, that makes sense, you know? Like, I don't know. It was interesting.
Bro Kim and Bro Chakotay. Right, okay. With that, let's head over to engineering for this instance is futile and send some time travel, people. Welcome to Engineering. This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sim brains, remind ourselves that no TV show is without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. Daniel, go first as our guest. Give us one of your biggest sins, whatever you want to, whatever bugs you about this episode.
See, one of the biggest ones for me is just how like things just like stop working and they're just like we can't like what do they say, like the emergency system's offline. It just stops working. It's like, and because it's not part of the plot or it's used as a device, we're not going to keep trying to address that problem.
Nope.
There was another one that was like towards the end. There was another one where something was having no effect. I forgot. I thought
Probably
I
a
wrote it down.
tractor beam, or it's amazing how often they don't have an effect.
Yeah, it's like
it is. It's wild.
There's just like the stop trying, or some piece of technology is not working. I can't shut down the drive.
Can't.
Tom Paris, I can't shut down the drive. That apparently never happened in a simulation. He just can't shut it down.
Nope.
Yep.
No.
And it just shouldn't happen. Like, so much should have to go wrong. There should always be a turn this shit off button or like an eject it. And nobody tries to get to the escape pods. No one tries to get off that ship. It's just, well, I guess this is my icy doom. If only we had transporters or something. Like, it's insane that there isn't, like, there should be a program on the ship that beams everyone into escape pods simultaneously, ejects them. That's your evacuation from the ship, or at least does it to a portion of the crew. You have 5 or 6 transporter rooms that are capable of beaming 8 people at once. Couple seconds, I guarantee it's faster than running to an escape pod.
Yeah, that does seem to be silly.
That brings me to another sin: is we're reading a planet like in the middle of space. They're just like, and it's not that far.
It's like, yeah, then it just scans over and it's like, oh, the one out the window. That huge thing.
It's insane. Like, space is big. Space is really, really big. And they might be thinking, it's kind of unlucky that we're landing on this planet. You have no idea how unlucky it is.
And somehow that was a better choice. Like, you would think that not hitting a planet would have been better. But
that was
for some
a
reason,
relief, apparently. Thank God there's this ice cube we can run into. Anyone read the Titanic? Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Janae, your turn.
Okay, well, I really like that moment when Chakotay and his girlfriend, which, by the way, I found to be an interesting kind of thing to have like on screen. They didn't give it too much screen time. They didn't give it too little. I thought they did a really good job of just like, let's put in the idea of a new relationship that's going to have some loss by the success of going back in time, or in this case, just being blown up and dying. So they're like on a suicide mission essentially. And at one point they decide to go back down to the ship for reasons. Can't remember exactly why, but they go down to the ship and they're hanging out and she's like, don't suppose we have time for a tour? And he's like, my quarters are messy. I'm like, is this the time to be thinking about boinking? Is
wisecracking?
This isn't the time for that. Like, yeah, sure, you want to go explore when you like, that just seems really out of place.
And there's so many dead bodies on that ship.
That's
like a weird. That's a weird place to be comfortable with that.
Like Janeway's corpse is just over there.
Tom Paris is on the ground. Like surrounded by 140 of your dead friends. What a fuck?
Your buddy is on the other ship, and the doctor is holding the brain and the eyeball of your other buddy. So yeah, let's go fuck. Why not?
I mean, I nearly said exactly the same moment where she just says, "Are you okay?" As he sat on the bridge of his dead ship, surrounded by his dead friends. Like, no, I am not okay. I do love that the doctor is like, well, thanks for coming to rescue me, guys. I really appreciate it. And they're just like, nope, we didn't come to rescue you. We need your expertise. Sorry, doctor. I'll just go back in the ice then.
Yeah, that was a little bit.
I have so many sins for this, but I think It's going to be, I think, oh man, it's the war crimes. So this episode is directly linked to the war crimes episode that Jonathan has mentioned a few times, which is Hope and Fear. So in that episode, the crew come across a ship from Starfleet called the Dauntless, and it has like a message in it, and it has this slipstream drive, which is going to get them home really, really quick. But it's all been staged by an alien whose species was wiped out by Janeway when she made a deal with the Borg. And he basically is going to fly them into Borg space so that they can get assimilated as well. But they study the ship for long enough that they extract the slipstream technology from it, which is a real thing, and then install it into Voyager, which is why they have the slipstream drive now. So they're all celebrating and going, yay! When really the subtext is, remember that species we wiped out? We also have their technology, and that's going to get us home. The origin of the slipstream drive is so dark, and it is not addressed. This is the last remnant of a genocide that Janeway committed that is allowing her to get home. The crew deserves to die. It should have killed them.
Holy shit!
It's so fucking dark.
Like, my sin of that scene is like, do you know how hard it is to get glitter out of anything? Why are we,
especially the
why
warp
are
core?
we right by the warp core, just like slamming open champagne bottles and flinging up? That was my sin for the moment, but holy shit! It's genocide. Good God.
It is profiting off of the Nazis. It is all of the technology that came about like after World War II. Like, oh, it's fine. They work for us now. Janeway is almost as bad. It's almost funny when you just roll back and think, wait, why does a slipstream sound familiar? Oh yeah, that's why.
Oh, that's right. That's
so
right.
Funny. Mm-hmm. I will say that it is all of the ice is convenient. Like convenient ice, a convenient Borg on the crew, frozen in ice that can travel through time and is preserved. Like if Voyager lands on any other planet, this doesn't work. Everyone's decomposed, everyone's dead. There is so many layers of convenience that allow this plan to pull off. It would have the what's-its sent out of it completely. Daniel, any other sins?
Oh, there's the whole like using one ship, a smaller like following a smaller ship that has to transmit something back to the bigger ship. I didn't realize that had been how many times that had been done in Star Trek until I watched this episode again, because I had just recently like after was it either this week or last week, I watched an episode of TNG where Picard does the same thing. He's like in a shuttle and there's like dark matter or something, and he's like he has to send them like coordinates so they can move the ship like in between these like big like dark matter clouds or something like that. And then I'm pretty sure that there was something in Discovery that was very similar as well, that I saw an episode a few months ago, but I don't remember what it was. So I don't know if it's definitely a cliche by now within the Star Trek.
You know what's going to solve this problem? This tiny little shuttle.
You know, it's like they're
human at the helm.
It's like they're It's like Voyager is skiing behind a shuttle in a way, and it's like that doesn't seem like it makes any sense to me. But maybe it's because I'm thinking on like Earth terms, where skiing
you're not
happens
thinking
on
fourth
water.
dimensionally. Yeah,
but it's like, oh yeah, let's put this massive ship behind the teeny tiny ship. Like the bigger sin for me in that moment too is how confident Kim is that is it Kim? Wait, Harry, Ensign,
Kim,
Harry.
Yeah.
I don't remember these people. I'm sorry.
How Harry's like, two first names as your last name is
I got this. I'm gonna do this. It's great. And then he gets in there and he's just like derp, 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 derp.
The sweat off of his brow is how I fucked up.
I don't
so
know what
bad.
I'm doing. It's like, well, how have you not been mentally preparing for this moment?
Like you've been promoted for a job that you're just not qualified to do.
You look out the back and this massive ship is skiing behind you, just like right on your ass. You're just like, you know what, guys, I changed my mind. just say shut it down. You know, like why did it have to be pushing to failure? But that again for me, maybe that's the biggest sin for me, is just that not pushing the show to accepting the fact that it didn't work. How crazy would that ending be?
What?
That'd be fucking cool.
You got to
Do it.
recast everyone midway through
That's the end of the
season 4.
series. That's it.
It's done.
It just ends right there.
That would have been horrible. Voyager would have gone down as the worst Star Trek in history. If they died, it would have been, man, I don't even know if Star Trek survives. I kind of want to see it, but it's insane. It's insane. We'll just
also,
we'll go on, Daniel.
On that point, like, I didn't even think about this, but it's very much whoever wrote that first they ripped off Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They ripped off Santa Claus. Like, that's
right.
It's guiding the sleigh. Like that's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
It's like, if that didn't work.
Harry with your nose.
And Santa and all the other reindeer were killed.
And that, children, is why we don't have presents anymore.
Yeah, that's why Star Trek never did a Christmas special, because Santa and the reindeer would have died. Amazing. I did have conveniently decomposing bentonite crystals are conveniently decomposing because, of course, we need a time pressure on it. Because Chakotay's right. You hand that pad to any Starfleet engineer, and they're like, "No, y'all are insane. Like, don't do this. You have one ship. You are in so much trouble if this goes wrong." They have a 70-year journey ahead of them.
Not anymore. 60.
But take 5 years to research it. Take 10 years to research it. Like, do some due diligence. But no, bentonite crystals. I don't know. And so Harry says it'll take months to make more. Cool.
Make more. Start doing it now. Yeah.
Like, months compared to years, compared to blowing up the ship. Like, I know he's eager to get home, but yeah,
that's a failure on part of Janeway that is not addressed in the episode either. Is that she totally let him do this? I don't know.
Yeah, that was her decision. It wasn't.
Give me the flight plan, and she okays it. I was like, okay, Captain, what makes you an expert on quantum tunneling? Like, what? Run it through the computer. Like, why are you getting the final say on this?
I think this episode really pushes in on when the writers sit down, and I can see them saying, we want our audience to feel like there's progress towards getting home. We want them to see us using this technology that we have instead of avoiding it. Let's use it. But we're not ready to end the series yet, so it can't be successful. But wasn't there a way to make it be like closer to successful? 10 years is still, I guess, a little bit better. But was there a way to do it where it didn't ask us to consider, just an entire timeline being either created and then dissolved, or existing without, or whatever, like whatever happened there that they didn't explain at all? Because as Daniel said earlier, like, Janeway is just like, we're not going to think about that, guys.
It's that one episode memory thing.
My advice for attempting to explain temporal paradoxes or something is don't even try. And then it's like, well, but you just made this episode. You just made us try. And now you're saying, but don't think about it too much. And I feel like, I don't know. What would be really interesting is to like pan away from this timeline and then figure out how to pan back into a different timeline, like or have the note sent back to even before. Like, why not try to just go back and doop and send a different message besides just like dissolve the slipstream entirely? I don't know. Because
he has such a small amount of time. If he sends the message too far back, they're going to question it. They're going to be like,
Great.
we can't confirm that this came from the future. We're going to ignore it, and we're just going to go home.
They sure did, because he coded his own shit right in there. He's like, by the way, this is from me. This is the date, and here's a personal message from me. Hi, me. I fucked up.
Yeah, it's Star Trek though, because they would have mulled over that message for years or months, like to. I'm agreeing completely with you, Danae. Like, I don't think that like them just like writing it off is like a good excuse, because like if they're this desperate to take this chance, like if you send it to them a year ahead of time, like they're going to be like try to authenticate that. Like they're gonna run maybe instead of 23 simulations, probably thousands. Like they're going to work the problem still, and they're not going to just like think of all the other, like even the other episode you're referring to where they basically get duped by this person, by this alien into thinking, yeah, like if they're willing to take those chances, like they're definitely going to take a chance on this message that's giving them pertinent information. Like so, like I had that written down too when he's just like, he said just the right moment. It has to be just the right moment. It's like, no, the doctor's still right. Like you
yes, you don't need 4 minutes. How about 4 days? Or
like send this to them before they even get to the Delta Quadrant.
Oh my goodness, stop them. No.
Yes,
oh, no.
that's what I'm saying is like, when do you go back to fix the problem? Like if Henry doesn't care at all and he just wants to undo a problem, like why not undo the problem of ever going into Starfleet in the first place, bud?
7 of 9 is
I
on
just thought
board.
about that.
7 joins them midway through the mission.
So what if he didn't? What if he sends it to the Borg? Like that'd be
there.
Weird.
You go.
Hey, I don't even know. Don't even know what would happen.
The Borg just turn up on Earth. Oh fuck. So
yeah.
I agree with Harry's logic of it's got to be in the moment so that they don't have time to think about it. It's just, okay, course correction, let's go. However, I do agree with you guys because he's completely, and the show is completely misunderstanding the butterfly effect, which is what we're talking about here, is that an act in the past will change the future. All he has to, that first course correction he makes creates a new timeline because Voyager jumps out at a different point. They jump out later than they should have done by seconds. And even by seconds, it doesn't matter. He just has to send a message or something that makes them pause to think and even delay by 1 day. And that creates a new timeline. Like he shouldn't have had a second chance to send that message back.
He created 2 new ones, essentially. There's just like this little branch kind of happening.
Yeah.
I actually thought that the first time, I thought there was going to be like a little bit of a writer's twist going on. So the very first time he sends it back, Chakotay and he stay in their shuttle and they get kicked out. They're like they're going down, so they're going to end up back home. And then Janeway and the crew are headed towards the planet, and they start to crash, and it cuts to commercial. And I'm just thinking, oh, I wonder if the information he sent was actually how to survive on this planet. So that way,
that makes
that way they're like they changed their course correction so that the crash didn't crash them as hard or something. Like that's what I thought was going to happen. So that so then they get back to now time, and the now time starts to go to try to figure out how to get them out of, because now 2 of the people made it back, and I thought that maybe those 2 people weren't going to be on the show as much anymore, and maybe the show would split and have some in working with the Starfleet, and then some would be still trying to get back home kind of a situation. That's what I thought was going to happen, but that is not what happened at all.
No, that is not what happened.
Okay.
So I mean, it does come back to this one episode memory thing of today. We can't help but think about serialized stuff, and even Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. It has undercurring themes. I don't think you make a TV show nowadays that doesn't remember its own episodes. Voyager, even though it had one single mission, it didn't refer back to a lot of its own stuff. So this timeless thing is never mentioned again. The fact that time travel is a thing, Harry Kim killed everyone. Next week, it's la la la, let's go see what's happening with Tuvok in his quarters because he's had a dream. Like, it still suffered from, we're allowed to do anything we want in this 45 minutes to some degree, because as long as we hit the reset button by the end of the episode, everything's fine for next week. And we almost don't worry about people watching it and reanalyzing it in 2023. But nowadays, you always have to think of the wider implications. And I don't think you have an episode like this unless you refer back to it and say, wow, the timeline's pretty fucked now, isn't it? It's just interesting how TV storytelling has changed.
Froze on me.
That's all right. I think as long as when he comes back, we'll keep going. Yeah. I was able to hear him.
That's strange.
What is happening? Our temporal rifts are been crystalling.
Yep. There's 3 different versions of us from the future trying to change how this podcast goes.
Ooh.
My last big... Sorry, go on, Daniel.
I was just saying to what you were saying, I think there might have been a fear with like serialized storytelling, just like because we all like they weren't as accessible. So it's like you could miss a week or 2 weeks, and it's like you weren't going to get that episode until like you bought it on like the DVD or yeah, I think that was DVDs then. So you probably could have lost people just like in that in that world where people are like, what is even going on in this episode?
They just don't watch the show. They just don't watch the show again.
No, you're right. We can do different things with our storytelling now because of how people access the media. And that's part of what's fun about watching the shows that were created in a different time when entertainment was presented completely different. You know, now someone can sit there for a weekend and binge your entire series.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
And so you can take some risks because someone doesn't, and then it becomes a thing that you talk about, like wait until you get to episode 5 and then everything changes. You don't start with episode 5 because it's airing live on TV unless you're watching YouTube TV.
And they just do that to you. Yeah,
which you can still watch live TV, and it is a very interesting experience to do so. It's like a little flashback reminder of how things used to be. But that is important to take into mind whenever we're, looking at these kinds of things, because we do have like more of a modern storytelling desire now. Like I want to dig deeper into some stuff, like kill. But I'm not tied to these people either. I'm like, kill them all. I don't care, But I'm
new timeline. I like but that's the great thing about Star Trek is that it makes you want to explore more. Like there's 45 minutes is not long enough to do this concept justice. Somebody in the chat earlier said this could have been like a 3-part like episode series. I was like, 100%. It could have easily been a 2-parter. It would have been. I love it. Time travel. I love it. My last big sin, other than hey, how do we show that the slipstream drive is fancy? We give it yellow and green lights for some reason. My big sin was Captain Geordie LaForge, because the man's an engineer. Like he wasn't on the command path. Like I don't know.
You don't know what happened.
It is possible that he changed
it's totally
careers.
Possible. Don't you fucking question Geordie LaForge, the captain.
I'm just saying we haven't seen. We've seen him in the command role occasionally, but his desire has always been engineering. That's been his passion.
Until something happened 15 years ago.
Just saying. It's interesting. It's also odd that we have a 26-year-old ship chasing down the Delta Flyer when Chakotay's girlfriend is like, "Oh man, this 15-year-old ship is really out of fact." The Galaxy class ship is 26 years old at this point.
But like you said, he's an engineer, so he gets the shit stuff to prove himself. God
right,
damn
why
it.
are they only sending one ship? If this is changing the entire fucking timeline, you haven't
he's
sent
so
all
badass,
of
he doesn't need the help.
God damn it. Challenger should not be doing this mission, is what I'm saying. Okay, right, here we go. Why isn't Geordie on the bridge? Geordie's like in some fucking office somewhere, because you don't see the bridge. You just see him in a chair in his office. Because they couldn't get onto the set of the Enterprise. That's why. Do it.
Budget.
He had just gone to the bathroom. He had to answer quickly. He just had a quick poo, and he just jumped into the closest chair that looked professional. That was not his poo seat, and that's sometimes how it goes.
Amazing. It's bullshit. It's nonsense. Right. Daniel, any more sins before we wrap this up and delete this timeline forever?
I'm just saying Harry's a bit of a dick.
Right?
He's a bit of a dick to everyone.
Yep. He's a dick to an entire timeline.
Yeah. He is working through some trauma.
Apart from the very monotone, they're having sex. That he says is also when the doctor's like, Ensign, he's like, I go by Harry now. Like, he's just being an asshole so hard for like no reason.
It's so funny. I want to introduce my friends like that at some point. Just like, they're having sex. Thank you.
He is. He's kind of one of those characters though, but I think it was kind of interesting. He must be so jarring from his normal character. I get the impression that they were just trying to like really push him into a different like direction. But that's just an assumption that I'm making based on, what I saw, that they took someone who's usually maybe like more calm and kind, and then they just turned him into a complete asshole.
Yeah.
So it must be really jarring.
Dealing with a lot of things, like his personality has shifted.
I like how at that one point where he was kind of like raging on his therapist, he's like, I know, survival, blah, blah, blah.
Survivor guilt. Yeah, bullshit. Therapy sucks. Unbelievable.
I'm killing everyone in the timeline to deal with my own fucking issues. Nobody asked me any questions. Chakotay's in. His girl that he's banging is in. She's willing to die. Because they're just so in love, and this is what we're doing. And the doctor's like, okie dokie.
Okay, let's go. I do actually have one more thing now that we've mentioned the doctor. Should he be helping them? Because he's a computer. He's a program. Yes, he's complicated. But at his base programming, shouldn't it be do no harm? Like, he's a doctor.
Technically, like, 7 of 9 was dead when he does all the harm to her. Technically, it was just an autopsy at that point, so he didn't do harm to her.
The timeline. He's killing everyone in that timeline.
Everyone.
Like, I just felt like the Starfleet programming in him should be like, error, do not compute, must not help him. There's got to be something in there that's just like, yeah, let's make sure he's never convinced into doing this. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, but he has to be there, because if he's not there, then the doohickey can't have the extra battery thingamajigger that it needs.
All of that. That's correct. Exactly.
To transmit the whatchamacallit.
I don't know why they had to steal the Delta Flyer, other than it's a ship that we know. Because the Delta Flyer is also 15 years old.
To get to the Voyager ship, they had to steal a ship. Maybe they just had to steal the easiest one that they could get to.
That's what I mean. Why is that the easiest ship to steal? It's fucking old at this point. It should be in a museum. Any warp-capable ship would have got them there. I don't know how the Delta Flyer was.
You think 15 years in a ship would be in a museum?
So the original Enterprise, they mothball after 20 years because it's too old.
Wow.
That's the only scope that I have.
God, my Jeep is so old in my garage right now. I'm like, man, I'm driving that thing that's like, it's like a 20-year-old vehicle, and it's still puttering along. Here there, I'm just like, let's just destroy ships that have been out for a decade.
Yeah.
In Connecticut, you get a classic car plate after, I think, 20 years or something like that.
Oh, so that's cool. For humans, we're just called geriatric.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing. Right. Well, that is everything, I think, unless anyone has any final thoughts.
No, I think that's it for me.
Amazing. Nope. Well, thanks, Daniel. We'll definitely have to have you on again. You picked a great episode.
This is a great episode.
It's so fun for all of its fucked upitude. Yeah. Anywhere you want to point people to come and chat and talk about timelines and shit?
No, I don't have any place right now.
Here's his address. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. Write me a letter.
Send it to our CinemaSins P.O. box in Nashville. It'll eventually get its way to Daniel.
It must only be parchment and using a quill. Otherwise, it will not be read.
And it must be a message from 15 years from now saying, well done, you avoided a disaster. Well,
I genuinely feel like somebody would take you up on that. And so just for funsies, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a P.O. box. If you want to write a quilled message to Daniel, you can send that via mail. That involves using like a little stamp and such. So a mailbox. P.O. Box 92466. That's Nashville, Tennessee 37209. You can just address it to CinemaSins, care of Daniel, and it will get to him.
Nice.
Parchment, quill. That's all.
That's it.
Just keep that in mind.
That's all that's sent. It's just empty. Invisible ink. It has to be an invisible ink as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit! No, you didn't say that. It's Daniel's standards.
Daniel.
The invisible ink might be too much. Like, it's going to be like National Treasure, where I got to get lemon juice and heat it up in the oven.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a bunch of squares. Amazing. Right, well, with that, next week it'll be the same time, same place in theory, around about. If you want to join us live on Twitch, on the CinemaSins Live Twitch channel, and on YouTube Live as well. Be roughly 12:30 Central. And we are going to be watching next week what I promised we would be watching 2 weeks ago, The Measure of a Man. So we're getting very, very, very close to Picard season 3. So we're going to carry on with some data thoughts and watch this incredible episode that, yeah, I think it's gonna get to know in all of the feels. But until then, thank you for listening, everybody. Damn it, I wasn't on the right bit for my quote. God
we knew
damn it.
that. We knew that. You're doing great.
God
Just a
damn it,
little
I'm
bit more
doing
editing
so
for you.
well.
Just a
Little
slight
bit.
more.
That's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
here we go. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And until next week, I'm going home, and I don't care if all it takes is killing everyone I care about.
It's we're talking to yesterday from me.
And this timeline only exists because I made a mistake 15 years ago.
Oh, oh no. Oh no. Live long and prosper?
Oh no, that was a great
Amazing.
quote.
Oh, I
Oh, my
love that
God.
episode. I love it so much.
It's
so,
a good
so
conversation episode, that's for sure.
It really, really is. Okay,
let's go into
chat,
your
let's
guys'
do some
questions. We will answer questions for probably about 10, 15 minutes or so, and then we will head back to our CinemaSins lives. You guys can ask
Heck
any
yeah.
question that you want. We'll get to as many as we possibly can. Here's one from Link for you, Daniel. Who is your favorite Star Trek character?
Oh wow, that's difficult. Because I feel like I appreciate so many of them, like in different ways. But in this moment in time, I actually enjoyed the new Spock a lot from Strange New Worlds.
Yes.
He's
I have to
so
say,
fucking great.
Get it.
I just think that I forget the actor's name. Is it Ethan?
Ethan Peck.
Ethan.
Oh
Peck.
my
Yeah.
God.
He just like his
Yo.
presence as Spock is like so spot on, and I enjoyed the Kelvin timeline.
Zachary
remember.
Quinto.
Yeah, I enjoyed him as Spock as well, but I think that Ethan Peck really nailed it. So
That's so
he's
good.
incredible. He's just his line delivery is incredible.
He's my first
Absolutely.
Spock.
Really?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so
well, I guess
cool.
no. I guess technically I saw a movie.
Oh, you
Was
saw
it
the
with-
Kelvin timelines? Yeah, it's Zachary Quinto with Chris Pine.
Yeah. So I saw that guy as Spock, but I didn't really. It wasn't like wow. Whereas this Spock, I'm like, I am in love with that guy. He is amazing.
He is.
Not only
He's
is he
charismatic as
beautiful,
heck.
but he has this beautiful voice, and like I like how he's conflicted, and his acting is incredible. Of course, I just love Strange New Worlds. I'm a little bit obsessed with Strange New Worlds. Like
I cannot wait.
it's
for it to
ruined
come back.
Picard for me.
Yeah,
know?
I get that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see
So-
I
that.
would like to say though, I think that he's great as Spock because I believe that Leonard Nimoy set such a high bar. I would like to say that I don't want to overshadow that performance, but I think that
No.
he set the bar so high that if you're coming as Spock, you have to bring it. So,
Yeah.
Totally agree. He created the character, and now some people don't have to do the hard work of creating Spock. They have the shoulders of him to launch from. Yeah, it's so good. Really, really quick. I probably should have done this at the top of the show. But hey, you're going to get it in the outtakes instead. Voyager is in the Delta Quadrant. Because in episode 1, it was flung across the galaxy by an alien called the Caretaker, who was basically picking species at random to find out if any were genetically compatible to be a host to continue its life. And it needed a host that would continue to look over this species of aliens called the Okompans. It knew it was going to die, and it needed somebody to take its place. So it would just pull ships at random and then fuck them off. And it's like, you guys don't work, away you go.
Selfishness
and Voyager,
is the answer.
Super selfishness.
And also
Voyager,
selfishness in this episode too. So it's just
all of the
selfishness
selfishness.
everywhere.
all of the selfishness.
We're just spewing it.
So the Caretaker does die, but then there's another group of aliens that are going to use his space station to basically kill the Okompans or something like that. So Janeway has to blow it up, and that's their only way home. So then they have to take the long way home instead.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. That's Voyager.
Mm-hmm. 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 Here's the message that you referenced. Honestly, this episode would have been amazing if they made it a 3-ep arc, maybe start it in the future and don't show the Voyager's fate until the end of episode 1. Very cool.
That would have been really cool.
Josh Zero did this one when we talked about LaForge for the first time. Jordy should have taken a look in its book. Sorry for that one. It's okay. It made me smirk during the show. I appreciated it.
Mild smirk.
I love that guy.
I love Jordy so
great.
much. Jordy's so good.
Let's see. I like this one from Josh too. Let them die, James Kirk, 2293. Whenever I first said let them die. I love that we have so many of you that can quote shit in the chat. It's my favorite.
It's so dark.
Here's one from Jagged. Says Sin, Voyager hidden in the ice steals a scene from Star Trek Prodigy. Ding.
That's a good point. To be fair, Voyager came first, but it's I see what you did. Yeah.
We do that in our shit all the time. That's a valid sin.
That's valid. Gosh, I can't believe you don't realize, Nick, the Prodigy actually takes place after Voyager.
Zinkstote says, ship buried in the ice. Major thing from another world / the thing vibes. Also, a nice callback in Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Does Lower Decks do that?
Point. I can't remember. I can't remember if they do the ice.
You're still there,
Maybe
Zink.
they mention it.
Expound on your thoughts.
Yeah, expound on that shit.
Fake snow, says Lloyd on YouTube, is sometimes damp, shredded paper. God, that must smell so weird.
Yeah, it must feel weird.
I can kind of smell that. I can smell paper mache right now. But I know that's glue also, but still. Ugh. But you're not wrong, Daniel, because I've watched like the making of different stuff and the snow scenes when the actors and talk about like their experience in those scenes. Are like, it was so fucking hot because it got all the lamps on them and stuff. So you're not wrong.
It's true. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Can you imagine putting them in real snow? How much that would be so awful.
All of the frostbite.
All the frostbite. Stupid question from Kichar. Are comm badges always out loud? Well, we think so.
That's the guess. So. I think they have to be. I don't know any ear implants. This one from Nick did make me chuckle. I like the implication that the Doctor turned himself off before the ship crashed in a potential crisis. Oh no! Yeah, he just like yeet. Shit's going bad. Computer deactivate program.
Yep. You're not wrong.
I never thought of that. That's so good.
There were some other sins down here. My sin is that this lady is super into wanting to erase the last 15 years of her life for no real reason other than I love you, Chakotay.
It's insane. Like, is that how the relationship started? We know nothing about why she's on board with this. It's so
they have a secret. They have a very dark secret. They don't want to. They don't want to deal with it.
They want to delete this timeline. Like, they need
out.
Yeah.
Jacket said technically this version of Kim isn't even the original Kim because of that alt universe episode where the Vindians tried to capture them. So maybe inside Voyager itself, there's an episode where there was another time travel thing. So no, this is a new version of Kim.
So this is an early episode where there's Voyager finds a distress call from itself and eventually works out that there's some weird time loop shenanigans going on, and there's two Voyagers that are like parallel. One of them's getting the shit beaten out of it so much, and they, long story short, have to help each other, but one of them has to blow up, and the original Harry Kim dies, so the Harry Kim from the other Voyager joins the ship. And it's
so
really
this is a
messed
totally
up.
different one.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
wow.
It's called
Wow.
What's that? What's Deadlock? The episode's called Deadlock, and it's like season 2 or something, or maybe season 1. But it's like the original. It's actually our Voyager is the one that gets destroyed, and so it's it may actually be that Harry Kim is the only original surviving crew member, and all of the others are alternate people. But it's the same timeline. It's just branched off. Yeah, it's deadlift. Deadlock is a great episode.
Just imagine you're Starfleet. You're a counselor in Starfleet. You know, you're a psychologist or whatever, and you're counseling all these people who go out into space and have these insane things happen and then come back and need to digest it.
I can't understand this story.
And Harry walks in and he's like, I killed everyone, but also they were already dead anyway. And I was already... He's like, I don't know what matters anymore. And he's just totally this broken man. Like, I want that series.
It's wild. That would be great.
That was a great thing to point out. Great comment. That was a really fun comment.
Really, really good point. Love that.
Here's one from Jagged. Cinema Sins Live. Joined at the hip means inseparable. Two people who are so close that they are almost considered one person. The idiom joined at the hip appeared in the 1960s in American English. It is assumed that it stems from the phenomenon of conjoined twins, formerly known as Siamese twins.
It's a sex thing. I don't care what it's a sex thing. Joined at the hip means joined at the penis and vagina. Like that's exactly what it means.
That's not the hip. That's the pelvis.
It's near the hip. It's hip adjacent. You try and do that without hips touching at some point.
You're not listening to what the chat has clearly gone to look up.
I reject their reality and substitute my own.
I love that the chat is exploding right now with like, how are you sexing Ian? Like, how are you sexing?
Oh, Sarah, Ian, where is your penis? That's none of your business.
Oh my God.
Man. You got to store the second one somewhere. Hips are good places
Oh my God. Here's a question from Link. Why didn't they try to warp away from Geordi?
I think there's a point where the Delta Flyer is more maneuverable at impulse. So the Challenger can outrun them at warp, but can't keep up with them at impulse because it can like fly around and do all of the stuff. I mean, everything we see on screen is that they're running in a straight fucking line, but in theory, at impulse, smaller ships are more maneuverable. I think, if I'm being generous, that's the logic.
Okay, what about this question? Voyager has beamed the whole Delta Flyer into the Voyager. Why can't Geordi just do that?
Yes, absolutely could, but shields and stuff. And modulating things.
It's what Daniel was talking about earlier, like, because that's not the point of the plot of this episode.
Because we wouldn't be able to wreck the timeline, is the answer.
Yeah. It is amazing how often in every episode of Star Trek I've ever seen, there's a moment when I think, well, isn't there a way to do that? Like, I've seen that done in other episodes, but it's just simply because that's not where the story is going, and so we're not doing that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's a one from Josh there who says, remember the scene in Beyond where the Franklin was surfing on the wave of Krall's drones while blowing them up with VHF noise, aka sabotage? That was such an awesome shot.
I do. I love it.
Yes.
It's so good.
They do.
I feel like that was a divisive moment, wasn't it? In terms of Star Trek, like some people did not like that at all, and I thought it was one of the funnest like Star Trek things I had ever seen.
It's so much fun, and just Chris Pine is just sitting in the moment, just like, great song. Yeah. It's so good. It's such a great moment, such a unique way to like be a bad guy as well. Beyond was just like, whatever, who cares? Everyone knows this is a different universe. Let's just have fun. I love Beyond for that. See, the immediate reaction was a bit but over time, Beyond is gaining a lot of love. A whole lot of love.
Just for the record, this was Slab's sin early on, and it was something that Ian also had written down as well. So Slab, we saw this, was a great point.
I had this in my notes before Slab said it, so fuck you, dude.
Wow. Wow. The fan love that we have is so powerful.
Hate you, bitch.
Listen, I was playing Mario Kart at the time. Ates is really kind and understanding that I was very sassy. Daniel, I maybe went a little too far while playing Mario Kart with the fan community recently.
Cussed out a fan live is insane. Hello, Slab's mum. Hello.
Hi, Slab's mum. And I did, yes, Link, I did yell at you for subscribing too. I did.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm a bad person. I'm sorry.
Bad promoter, that's for sure.
I'm so sorry. Thank you guys for being here.
The sabotage blaring in the background of this game of Mario Kart. And it's just like,
I can't stand it.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
that's amazing.
Well, we were
That's
talking
so good.
about Geordie LaForge's career path. Jagged points out in 15 years he didn't change his career path. Maybe the destruction of the Voyager inspired him to become a captain.
What the fuck does he care about Voyager? He doesn't know anyone
He
on that
cares.
ship.
You
That's
don't
the
know?
bullshit. He doesn't
You don't
care.
know.
they don't know what happened to Voyager because like the Delta Flyer makes it back to
They
Earth,
gave up.
and they have no idea what happened to Voyager. So it I mean, maybe the search for Voyager propelled him
Yeah.
into becoming a captain, but
Yeah, maybe. I'm not buying it.
but then I feel like it probably would have been relationship to Harry would have been different.
You
Like,
think?
Yeah.
if he had spent any time like looking for the ship.
Yeah,
I agree.
No, I agree.
Here's a question from Kachar. Is the Doctor hollow? Or does the hollow projection also include all the inner stuff to make him tick? This is a great question because you do see him be patted on the shoulder and he is a solid being. And I think I remember that he's like, this is the technology that allows a holodeck simulated person to kind of move around in an environment because he's wearing something on his shoulder that keeps him activated so that he can actually be present. And then depending on the need, like you can alter it to where he's solid, but then he's potentially able to be destroyed. But I can't remember that part because this came up in Picard as well. All of the members of the ship. What was the ship's name?
Oh,
the one that the red one
La Sirena.
behind you?
Yeah, La Sirena.
Yeah, that one has similar things where there's their security protocol. I remember popped up once on Picard, and it was like they're all holodeck until they don't need to be holodeck anymore because the technology has advanced somehow.
There is an episode in something, I forget, but it is, I mean, because they physically interact with all the like objects and people on the holodeck. So it is like, I forget how it's explained, but I think there's a holodeck episode where they may give some technical mumbo jumbo explanation for it.
Well, the Doctor can choose. He can choose whether things can pass through him or whether he has physical. You can touch him. It's all with force fields and whatever. They don't fully explain it, but when he needs to pick up a hypo spray, yes, he has physical forms. But if someone's going to swing a punch at him, then
he can go.
He can be just light and stuff. And it's funny when his program glitches because he'll pick up like a tray of something. There'll be a power surge, and then he'll like shudder, and the tray will fall through his fingers, and he's like, "This is so inconvenient." Just pick it up again. But when
he's such a great character, and I love how the guy portrays him, like the actor that I can't remember the actor's name, but he's so fun. Oh, yeah, that's Picardo.
Yeah, that's Picardo. Yeah, of course it is.
Picardo, I love it.
But with the hollow emitter is unsurprisingly it's technology that came from the future. So
yes, for reasons.
It's from the year 3000.
From the year 3000.
Exactly. And that allows him to leave the ship. It's a portable hollow emitter. So usually holograms have to be where there is a hollow emitter, but this allows him to go wherever he wants. But he has to stay solid because it has to hold on to something. So while he's wearing that, he's always a solid thing.
And there you go. Makes no more sense, but...
Oh, shit. Screw you, Nick. Nick just proved me wrong. Yeah, you're right.
What did he do?
So Nick just said that in that episode where he gets the mobile emitter and they go back in time to 1995, he gets shot with bullets and they go through him. I don't understand why that works.
In other words, you've come here for all of the answers to Star Trek questions, and yet you leave with more.
Yeah, the problem is Star Trek isn't consistent. Move on.
I could give a slight answer for that because, like, for him to allow matter to pass through him, the entire structure doesn't need to become not solid.
Just
like he can kind of choose.
Yeah, so it's like if his legs are solid, then like you can kind of. What's that like Vision in Marvel? sort of.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Ooh.
Also, why would the doctor
He's
care if he
OP.
gets shot? Just take the bullet. What's going to happen?
That is another question. Yeah, why didn't they just like bounce off him if he's just like force
Yeah.
fields or something?
Yeah. That's really strange. We don't know. We don't
Created
understand
a
it.
hazard by letting those bullets just fly wherever they were going.
Exactly.
To hit somebody else.
Ricochet is an issue.
Just, oh my God, just hit somebody behind him. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Ooh, sorry. I'll meet me in sick bay. I'll take care of
My
that for you.
bad. Yeah. Oops.
Why are you guys playing Mario Kart not online with us? When maybe? Are you thinking about when? When it could be today. I'm not sure. I usually stream personally on Fridays. I'll try to stream like some Wild RP and things like that. That's kind of my day to unplug from reality and jump into something fun. And we did play Mario Kart last week, and we could do that again this week. It just kind of depends. But it is random, and it is not currently something that we are like doing regularly enough to put it on the schedule.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we have had a lot of fun with it, and so we're definitely gonna be playing Mario Kart again. And
yeah, we will.
like I was on just playing for fun over the weekend, just me against other people online. So, you know, always feel free to check in if you guys have got my friend code. Actually, I'll just pop it up in case you guys don't have it. But here's my friend code. And there's Ian's friend code. And if you are somebody who has a Switch and you got the Mario Kart 8 or whatever it is it 8?
Yeah, right? Mario Kart! Hey!
Then you can add us. And yeah, anytime I'm online, you can join in on the races with me. I don't mind at all. But we will create more like private room races again soon.
Yeah, we will.
We will.
That's
the answer there.
Yeah.
Anything else before we head off? I went over just a little bit on the time that we thought it was going to be. Reality is. Let me find someone to write into. I know Moko's going, so maybe we should just throw over to some Moko today.
Yeah, sounds good. And Chris is planning to be back on Monday, all being well, to do some more Last of Us. Not firmly set, but that is the plan as of now, to carry on that journey.
Yeah.
Hopefully with significantly less technical issues than we had last time.
Oh, you guys did great. It was so much fun.
We fixed it all. It was good.
Thanks for coming to hang out with us. We're going to go say hi to Moko Made. They are one of the most active and incredible communities. So they're very used to the CinemaSins vibe. Many of you are already familiar with them. They have a very active Discord, and they love to show art that they do. They're creators. So they, the brother-sister duo, and the sister paints leather and does other things as well. And then the brother also works with leather, but they're kind of just like heads of the community here on Twitch. And so they know just about everybody who streams and what they do, whether it's games or art stuff. And they know how to be snarky and have fun. And I think that they're one of the best matches for our community that I've found so far on Twitch. But thank you guys so much for being here. We will see you for the next CinemaSin show on Monday, hopefully with Chris. Just be watching social media for that. And we will put it up on Twitch if it comes about. And then Tuesday is Recotopia. And then we'll see you back here next week for Captain's Pod.
Nice. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Daniel.
See you. Thanks for having me.